I had a chance to speak to the Naval Leadership Conference in Pensacola, Florida. And in my audience were the 4 stars and the 3-star admirals, the 2 stars. And when I finished, I sat back down at the round table. The speech went pretty well, actually. They were naming their future children Dan. It was kind of a cool deal. And they said, what can we do for you? Because I always volunteer my services for the military. I said, I want to ride in an F-18. Admiral Clark, Admiral Dwyer, they all said, no problem. So I fly into Baltimore, Maryland, rent a car, go to Patuxent River, Maryland, and I should have known when I pulled on the base when I read Navy Test Pilot. It's cool. I should have just backed up and turned around. And sure, when I showed up, they're all looking at me like VIP, my VIP. You ain't getting a ride unless you go through 5 hours of training just like everybody else does. And they made it clear that Chuck Norris didn't pass the training and they didn't let him fly. I'm like, I don't care, bring him on. Texas Ranger, that's nothing to me. They fit me in this flight suit after my flight surgeon gives me this amazing checkup. He checked things I didn't even have. And now I've got this custom fit flight suit with the steel toe boots and the helmet and the gloves and the torso harness and the safety vest. 85 pounds of equipment, and they take me to the aquatic center where now I have to swim 2 full lengths of an Olympic-sized swimming pool in full combat gear. I almost drowned 15 times. I'm like, every time I came up for air, they're on the sideline going, see, I knew we'd get him. Yes, all right. Then they had me tread water for 15 minutes, almost died again. Then they get this wild idea, what happens if you crash and you lose your sight underwater? So they put me in an underwater maze, blindfolded me in my helmet, and had me find my way out. Almost died the 3rd time. Now it's time for spatial orientation training. Spatial disorientation is when you lose your equilibrium in the cockpit and you got to figure out a way to get it back. So they strapped me to this souped-up bar stool, spun me around for 10 minutes, had me get off and find the wall. I felt like I was at a fraternity party in college. Then they take me in, hey, you ever eject out of a jet? I said, excuse me? He says, hey, you ever eject out of a jet? I'm like, duh. He straps me on this sled, tells me to pull the lever, the yellow lever between my legs when he says 3. I said, what? He said 3. 3.5 G's on my face. Unbelievable experience. 5 hours later, I'm exhausted, but I passed the training, and I'm so excited, and I go to dinner that night with Colonel Eugene Frazier, call sign Gator. I said, Colonel, is there something special you think I ought to eat before I fly? He says, yeah, bananas. I said, why? For the potassium, am I going to cramp up? He said, no, they taste exactly the same coming up as they do going down. I wake up, they take me to the flight line, and they introduce me to my pilot, Captain Bill Reuter, call sign Rodo. There's no Maverick, there's no Cougar. I didn't see Kelly McGillis in the restroom. My dreams are shattered, and now I'm putting my life in the hands of Rodo Reuter. We take off, and we are airborne for 90 minutes. I get to fly that plane about 30 out of the 90 minutes. It was the most exhilarating experience of my lifetime. Go twice the speed of sound, Mach 2, 1,200 miles an hour. We go to 55,000 feet elevation where you can start to see the curvature of the earth. And then dive straight down into a 500-foot elevation. Going 640 knots, 500 feet off the ground in a simulated bombing run. It's the coolest video game I've ever played in my entire lifetime. Everywhere we went, loop, the whole deal. And when we landed, and I put my face back over where it was supposed to be, I wanted to learn the lesson. I wanted to understand. And I said, Rodo, how did we fly this magnificent F-18? He said, by feel. I said, what? You fly a high-performance jet? High technology, gauges and gadgets crammed bumper to bumper in this cockpit, and you fly a high-performance jet with the right side of your brain, the touchy-feely, emotional, relational side of life? He says, absolutely. He said that control stick that sticks up out of the floor that you straddled with your knees, that control stick moves 3 inches forward, 3 inches to the left, 3 inches to the right, 5.5 inches backwards. Going twice the speed of sound, you need only move that control stick 1 inch in either one of those 4 directions, and it completely changes the entire direction of the aircraft 45 degrees. Change and stretch is a little teeny bit extra effort. One moment in time changes everything. No matter what our past has been, we have a spotless future. And to tie it into your theme, taking care of business, let me just answer the question that's probably on your mind. So, Clark, did you pop your cookies? May I simply say that Colonel Fraser was absolutely correct about those bananas. In fact, not only did I eject those bananas, I saw a pizza that I'd had on Tuesday. In fact, I think I ejected a box of Milk Duds I ate at a movie when I was 9. And then they take you into this call sign ceremony, and you can't pick your own, and I was just praying they wouldn't call me 2 bags. The only positive thing I can get out of it, except this amazing memory, is that I have got to be the only human being who has ever thrown down. I was upside down for so long, I think it just all went down. What's the story? Let me compare and contrast to an F-16. I speak for the 388th Fighter Wing. And after I finished with the Air Force, they said, what is your speaker's fee? I said, I want to ride in an F-16. They said, we can do that. I'm not belaboring the point. I just want to compare and contrast the flight style. You see, in a F-16, there's no control stick that comes out of the floor. It's a control grip mounted on the right side of the cockpit. It only moves 1/8 to 3/8 of an inch. You can't even tell you're moving it. You're like, whoa, whoa! And we took off. 9.4 Gs, went 1.1 Mach, did all the air show maneuvers. I've since flown with the Thunderbirds, had the exhilaration time of my life. We did air-to-air combat where we chased another F-16, they chased us. 90 minutes later, having had the opportunity to also fly that jet 30 out of the 90 minutes with this control grip that only moves 1/8 of an inch, we land. My pilot, Bill Coots, call sign Cooter. Cooter, how did we fly this magnificent F-16? He said, hot lips. That's my call sign. No questions. He says, hot lips, you become the plane. I said, what do you mean? He said, Dan, when you climbed up that ladder and slid into the F-16, did you strap into the F-16 or did you strap the F-16 onto you? Regardless of the economy, regardless of the competition, regardless of the attitude of our coworkers or family members, we have the moral obligation to start that stretch and answer cornerstone number 2. How do we do it? From the inside out, simply because we can.